Hello and welcome to the 529 Enable April 2021 webinar. I'm your host, Paul Curley, Director of 529 and Able Research at ISS Market Intelligence. As it was pointed out yesterday in a meeting, that's my name, title, company, but all the social media contacts right there as well. So if you can't find me on social media, let me know. And I guess we'll also be trying to start up a Clubhouse group soon as well. So more to come. The goal of the webinar is to share and learn best practices, talk about industry trends, and generally kind of build out that community of different items that are needed to you get people excited about 529s and Able accounts, and try and get all the different parties in the same room together. And of course, together, building along that long-term growth opportunity for institutions, advisors, and families as well. But thank you for the support and collaboration. Today's webinar is the 11th in the series, and of course it's been building since in 2020, also 2021, and so this is the 11th webinar. The recordings are available on that link, but also if you go through the different emails we've sent in the past, you can find the whole series of different webinars that we've done to date. So thank you for the support, and take a look, and hope you enjoy today's webinar as well. And today's webinar really does help us lead up to that 529 Conference 2021 that we are currently scheduled for to hold on November 2nd to the 4th at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, Florida. It'd be great to get everyone together again in person. It's been after having last year's conference virtual, so it'd be nice to kind of work back towards that in-person event in Florida. The agenda this year is that on Tuesday, November 2nd, we're going to have the 529 Essentials. We're going to have the 8 speakers talk about 8 different topics for 8 hours. So it'll be a full day from 9 to 5 on that product training and best practices. It's always been known as the boot camp as well. And on Wednesday, and half of the day on Thursday, we'll be doing the 529 conference. We'll be talking about different industry trends from a product marketing, distribution, legislative perspective. Thursday afternoon on November 5th, we'll have the Able Summit. So look forward to seeing you there. Registration coming soon. And for today, we're going to talk about industry announcements. There's a lot going on in the industry since we had that overall industry update. I think it was actually in December that we provided a kind of list of different industry changes from a product marketing distribution perspective, but we'll also talk about different market data and research updates. We also did a deep dive in terms of ETFs and 529, so we'll be walking through that as well. So appreciate the feedback and communication. We'll be taking live questions and answers throughout. I can actually see the Q&A right here. So all the Q&A right here, and at irregular intervals, I'll do my best to kind of pause and take a look as well. And for that question and answer component as well, there's on the right bar, there's a little tab. There's the question and answers. Please submit the questions there. We'll try and take them along the way and have fun for it as well. We always, as a side note, we also try to engage the audience here today, and we do so by doing the live question throughout to make it fun as well. And so we'll start out with a poll just to find out the audience who's here today. What is the relationship to the audience? Reopen. What is your Q open? So on the right side of the bar next to the question and answer, there should be something that is available on the right in the poll section to do a poll. So it'll be open, and I'll give it a moment or two to have people respond. Just give it one more minute. Brennan Hannon says no poll came up for me. Let me try one more time. I'll close it. Back to queue. Start polling. Let's see if it comes up right now. Yeah, Brennan, do you want to type in and see it, mention if the poll was rolling? Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you, Brennan, from College Invest for helping me get back on track, and I'll give it 1 more minute now. Thank you. I'll just grab a water for a moment. Okay. So as of today, there's 30% in the product provider and distributor category, 22% in the state agency or Treasury Department category, 22% in the broker dealer, and 26% other. So great. So we got the chat box working. So thank you. All right. So, for today's audience, definitely seems like it's a good, well-rounded group. Whether it be for state agencies, product providers, primary distributors, broker dealer, home offices, and in the other categories as well, such as the record keepers, legal, regulatory agencies, legal and regulatory agencies. So it's great to get the full group of 360 degree perspective today. So industry announcements, upwards and onwards. And I guess while we got you chatting away and thinking about different things and engaging the audience, and this is a chart that intentionally it does not have any labels, axes, or anything. But I was thinking about so much has changed this year. If you want to type in the box what you think this is, I'll read off some or a few, but basically, in 2020, 2021, there's been a lot of change, tremendous change. Almost every single trend has been shifted, has been changed. But this trend just continues, and the red bar is just sort of the where things are overall in terms of just like the overall trend. The green bar is the change from one year to the next. Lo and behold, it really is kind of interesting where with so much changing, some things just literally don't change. And so when we jump to the next screen, what we'll see is that what it is that the student loan debt. So obviously there's been so much, change in 2020, 2021. One thing that just hasn't changed at all is just the upward trend for student loans. And it really is just, reiterates the importance of just staying focused, regardless of everything kind of going on and so many different things and so much things hitting the news, that sometimes is just important to remember at the end of the day, we're planning and saving for the long-term goal of saving and paying for college. So it's great to, stay focused and just in terms of that sheer importance of just, saving and paying for college. That student loan debt number isn't going away. That red bar is just, very, just very deliberate, just very, consistent in its increase. So obviously kind of also helps us focus on the why of today's presentation. But, from a legislative perspective, there's a new bill that's out there that, on the 529 side will expand 529 qualified distributions to post-secondary credentials. So we went from college to K through 12 to student loans and all these other components. But, what's intriguing is that now we're kind of looking at the credential programs. On the ABLE side, we're looking to expand the age of onset from 26 years old to 46 years old. Together, lo and behold, what's interesting is that obviously this is positive because it is an expansion of the capabilities and enhancement of both 529s and ABLE. That it's not something that is detracting or taking away from its ability to really help families. So that's, broadly speaking, from the legislative perspective, we have some great news, hitting the wire. And then when we also kind of take a look, one thing that I've been spending a lot of my time on is analyzing each and every one of the 5,394 investment options that includes the share classes. So one investment option with 5 share classes would be 5 in this example. But for me, I've been analyzing the 5,000 investment options in 529s as of the first quarter, and we'll be doing this going forward of basically tagging and flagging each and every one of those investment options to is it an active, passive, or blended investment option. And then we'll take that chart right there. It basically comes from our 529 field analysis, where we basically stack and grade the the benchmark each and every plan by fees, and it's basically a flat average calculation. So the bar is the lowest cost investment option, the top one from a total annual asset base fee perspective. The dot is the average, and so we're going to take, while that chart looks at each and every single plan and investment option, we're going to start looking at what does the world look like when we look at, say, just the active investment options, and then we'll look at active just for let's just say active advisor sold plans and its enrollment date. So we're gonna start to take a look at some of the analysis. It's a request that we had that no less than 6 or 7 different organizations have asked me to basically cover this and analyze the industry this way. So if you have some thoughts and feedback, happy to set up a quick call and learn more about what you perceive to be what our methodology should be. We do have a preset methodology that we're working on right now. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. The next item is the industry from a product perspective. So Virginia 529 launched the tuition track portfolio within the Invest 529 plan. That's the direct sold plan. That investment option within the Invest 529 plan is resident only. There's a couple different bullet points that we have on it. It is and looking at some of the notes that was provided to me from various teams as well, it is a different sort of animal. The performance is tied to the average tuition at Virginia's public universities, fully a part of the Invest 529 portfolio lineup, provides downside protection similar to the FDIC insured portfolio. And once a year, the NAV is reset to the average tuition, which is used, and it's repriced units in that portfolio. But lo and behold, it's an investment option that will track the public schools and colleges within the state. So that's intriguing. Of course, it comes where I believe it was a year or two before that they had closed their prepaid plan, so they're kind of folding this type of investment option within the Invest 529 plan. So we'll be watching that. Chet Direct, it changed program managers from TIA over to Fidelity. Direct, the Chet Advisor plan, changed program managers from Hartford to Fidelity Advisors. South Dakota's College Access changed as well from Allianz to Virtus Investment Partners. So congrats to them for entering the space. And in the second quarter, perhaps the tail end of the second quarter or early third quarter, we're expecting Colorado's Scholars Choice to change program managers from Legg Mason to Nuveen. And one total point that at some point in 2020 will be taking place is Macrae Asset Management will acquire Waddell & Reed, and the Ivy 529 plan is set to shift, relabel, and potentially change. It's Delaware's. Delaware is going to be working with Ivy. Of course, Delaware is with Macrae. Ivy's with Waddell & Reed. So we'll be tracking that one closely as well. So a lot going on in the space, which is great. Pivoting over to the ABLE side, we see that Alabama launched a new ABLE program to replace an ABLE savings plan. Nebraska will be shifting program management duties over to the TrueLink Financial. I should correct my own self and say that it's actually in the ABLE space more of an administrator versus program manager terminology. So something I got to keep top of mind as well. And we will mention TrueLink again as Ohio State will be changing administrators from Intuition over to TrueLink as well. And for ABLE America, the American Funds ABLE program will be adding an advisory share class of ABLE F2. So we'll be tracking that one and keep things posted. One thing that we've also noticed recently is really the expansion of the ESG investment options. There's currently, or very soon, will be 22 plans with ESG investment options. There's been five new ones, basically from December to June of 2021. All 5 of them are direct. There's currently roughly 7 that are advisor sold plans with ESG investment options, but Florida added in December, Chet Direct added in February. In May, so next month, Alaska 529 and T. Rowe Price College Savings Plan will be adding their ESG plans. And in June, we're expecting Minnesota to add their ESG investment options. So it's obviously something that's very timely. It's in the news. It's something that we're hearing pretty frequently. Not a day goes by where we're not seeing Fund Fire Ignites or any of the main industry publications talking about ESG. And of course, last week I saw Larry Fink for BlackRock present at one of their internal events where basically from their take, ESG will be the standard practice as a means to even do the business table stakes going forward in Europe and therefore potentially globally. So obviously something we'll be tracking closely, and so it'll be interesting to see that one develop within the 529 space as well. Within the proc space, in February, Census launched ReadySave 529 mobile app. It's always great whenever there's new product structure, product enhancement that hits the space. This one being a Census with ReadySave 529 mobile app. First, a Census has launched it, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat box. But as of today, Missouri, Most 529, Rhode Island, College Bound Saver, and the Nevada's SSGA You Promise 529 plan are currently live, and they're going to be launching it active throughout the rest of their plans throughout 2021. And I guess I'll just cover myself as well to say perhaps 2021, 2022, but in the near future they'll be rolling that across all the plans. Separately, it's great to see Arizona essay writing contest was launched by State Treasurer Kimberly Yee as a part of our run up to 529 Day. Of course, 529 Day is on May 29th. This year it'll be on a weekend, so we'll see when our webinar is next month. But that's great news, and we are aware that Edward Jones is going to be releasing their annual 529 awareness survey results fairly soon. So we'll be looking to see how that fared for them this year, and obviously how it compared to years past. I know for us in the springtime, we filled our survey of parents, and what we found was that broadly speaking, that with the overall fairly significant jump in savings rate. Me personally, I didn't think we would be touching the over 10% savings rate again anytime soon, but we are there. It hasn't been back there since the 80s, really. 60s, 70s, and 80s, the U.S. savings rate was always hovering that 10 to 15% savings rate. So as more people save, overall, we've seen a 5% shift of percentage of parents that go from not being savers to savers. 4% of that 5% has gone into saving, but not for college, saving, but not for the 529 plan. 1% shifted from not saving to 529 plan usage. And the feedback today, and we're still analyzing the figures, is really just the push for liquidity and the importance of liquidity. So like on the big picture, we see more people save, more people in turn saving for college, and more people using 529. So I think in due time, once the drive and push for liquidity kind of calms down a little bit, we'll see even more folks save with 529s. So, and for our survey of as it relates to the study, what we really analyze is like how does one get and even accelerate that trend of getting people who aren't savers to savers, those that are saving without a 529 to be a saver with 529, and 529 users to really become power users, as we define as those that are either maxing out the annual contribution limit or using multiple ways to put in money into the account, whether it be themselves, their grandparents, the employer channel, the gifting channel, in a couple different ways of just funding that overall amount of money allotted for college. I'll take a quick pause, see if there's any questions that did come in during these sections. Quick note. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Georgia, and California are all live on the app. So that's great news. Thank you, Kevin, for the update. So we've seen already, going back to the slide, here about with the census launching the ReadySave 529 mobile app. Not only is it with Missouri, Rhode Island, Nevada, but it's also with Wisconsin, Minnesota, Georgia, and California now as well. So thank you, Kevin. So we're currently in the process of basically gathering, processing, reporting, QCing the quarterly data for the 529 plan industry. Lo and behold, it was a great quarter. We talked about more people saving overall, more people saving with a 529 plan. 14.1 million accounts roughly as of the end of the first quarter, and the assets have increased up to 412 billion. So we've seen, broadly speaking, the increase in assets being driven on one hand by market performance, but we've also seen a fairly significant jump in net flows in the tune of roughly 17% increase when looking at the first quarter 2020 over to first quarter 2021. we've seen a sizable increase in net flows, and that's being driven by the gross contributions increasing because there's more money, moving around. There's more savings. Perhaps it's people aren't able to go out to restaurants, so they're more apt to save nowadays than perhaps in the past. So we see that trend. But also we see the gross distributions did dip a little bit. In the fourth quarter 2020, there was a decrease in gross distributions, which rarely takes place, and we align that with the decrease in college enrollment. But we do see positive news that the gross distributions did increase roughly 8% first quarter 2020 to first quarter 2021. So distributions are back in flow, and that's actually what I would interpret to be a positive thing, a good thing, as it means that people are back to using the 529 plans and saving and paying for college and using it for college. So we'll be tracking the industry and reporting more as it comes in. My one last note would be the obviously the sheer importance of the automatic contributions with all the market volatility, that being able to dollar cost on the way down and also dollar cost on the way up was obviously a benefit for those that were able to do so. And when we look at Able, we've seen a very good, solid, continuous increase in number of accounts and assets. So number of accounts, we've gone slightly over that 90,000 accounts, investing that roughly 759 million in assets in Able accounts. And we've seen, as we can kind of graphically see, it's been a very continuous increase in number of accounts, and we would almost see that acceleration of assets, more closely aligning with it being a fairly stable increase, but also that market return really helping that acceleration of compound growth. So we'll be tracking that Able accounts. Broadly speaking, we see many of the same trends as paralleling other great products in terms of people like the product has launched, people are putting the money in, they're having it grow, and they're taking distributions for qualified expenses. So we've seen Able grow to date and look forward to tracking it more. Now over to ETFs and 529s. So when we took a look at the ETFs and 529s, and there does seem to be a broadly speaking, a growth and shifts, from mutual funds over to ETFs. A number of product providers, broadly speaking, have been launching ETFs and moving some of the assets from 529 from mutual funds over to ETFs. So we'll be tracking that as it happens, and as firms actually launch more and more investment options that are ETFs within the 529 structure, we'll be tracking and announcing that as well. We track that as in one of our status boards, but we did take a look at the demands from the demand perspective of parents and advisors, the offering perspective of 529 plans, and the usage perspective in terms of that assets, accounts, gross sales, net sales, and all that market data. And of course, I say thank you because this idea to review and analyze this topic really came in from someone out in the field who just said, "Hey, Paul, what do you see going on in the space?" So this chart really looks at takes a look at our annual survey of parents. We do ask the question of how do you when you choose between different 529 plans, like how important are different factors? And so is it more of a select methodology in terms of the preference of 529 plans? And for this factor, we took a look at those that were saving with a 529 plan. How important was that offering of ETFs in terms of their plan selection? And broadly speaking, from 2017, 18, 19, 20, we've been asking this question. And broadly speaking, for those with a 529 plan that did sign up with the either through their advisor or through recommendation through their advisor, broadly speaking, has been an increase in terms of usage and preference for ETFs. I think it does align with overall ETFs becoming more and more known and aware of being an investment structure, or basically like investment vehicle. So more and more people are familiar with it and used to it. So as the overall market kind of grows, so too in 529 plans, there's been more and more demand. As can be seen, for example, in 2017 there was a 15% rate, and in 2020 there's been 23% of 529 users that enrolled through advisors or with their advisor, really chose their plan based on ETF. So we'll be tracking that as it develops. And when we take a look at a similar sort of survey going from 2009 to 2020, asking advisors, that same question. We do a survey of advisors every single year in our 529 distribution analysis. Broadly speaking, we've seen almost like different time periods. But that being said, there's been different stages and time periods where ETFs, with advisors has been on the rise. Obviously, for the last 3 years, more and more demand for ETFs has been taking place. So we'll be tracking that, and so it's going back in time, it was sub 5% even in terms of ETF selection, 529 selection based on the ETF offering, and of course this more recent year, basically a 45% of advisors responding. So we've seen an increase. When we look at the offering stage, roughly 14 plans are offering 277 ETF investment options. Of course, I do also note in this, as in the past, there's one investment option with 5 share classes. That would be 5 of those 277 ETF investment options. But broadly speaking, we have seen an increase in offering, and so that's the list of plans that currently offer the ETF investment options. And for us in our methodology, is at the individual and static investment option level. Is the underlying investment in ETF, and then when we look at the age-based investment option, which may tend to have anywhere between 10 or 20, 30 underlying investment options, we really flag those investment options. Is it using that 80-20 rule? Is it more than 80% ETFs? So it's not just 20 mutual funds and one ETF, and then that gets flagged to ETFs. Like, no, it needs to be that over 20% ETF investment underlier. So that being said, so 5% of the 529 investment options available are ETF investment options. We'll continue to track it. Obviously, it's one of our status boards and something that we were asked to take a look at. We evaluated it, and so based on feedback, we took a look, and so thank you for the suggestion to take a look on that one. So much appreciated. And then, of course, I did forget to mention that the last stage of the utilization. So this chart really looks at the broader overall assets within ETFs across the entire financial service industry. As of the end of 2020, 5.5 trillion in assets were in ETFs. This is for this chart, for ETFs and mutual funds, it includes ETFs, it includes mutual funds, it excludes closed-end funds and money market funds. So it really is the longer-term investment, non-money market. So, but lo and behold, 5.5 trillion in assets in ETFs out of the total of 23 trillion in mutual funds and ETFs as of 2020 was sort of like the usage rate. So closer to that 23.5% of long-term assets were in ETFs. When we look at the 529 side, it's only 1.5% of assets, 3.7% of investment positions, 3.8% of net flows, and 2.3% of gross sales. Lo and behold, one can see the divergence between the overall market that is much more that is using ETFs at a much higher clip than 529 plans. So lo and behold, I think as they become much more mainstream, that they will be people will become much more familiar with them, and therefore the offering and therefore demand as well will broadly increase for ETFs going forward. So we'll be tracking it, and thank you for the feedback. Yep, that pretty much summarizes the last one. Demand perspective, parents and advisors are demanding. There's more and more plans offering it. The usage gap exists between 529s and the overall market. We didn't expect it to be filled accordingly over time. So time will tell, and we'll be tracking it. We'll pause for a moment for any questions, and I'll just see if anyone types in a question. Just give it one moment. Uh, Two quick questions. Like one is around the Able Age Adjustment Act. What is the likelihood of it getting passed? Broadly speaking, we've seen bills get introduced in both the House side and the Senate side. Great traction to date. So, and it seems like almost every week when I do cover the topic in our 529-E newsletter that it is getting more and more co-sponsors, and obviously that momentum is very positive. The other question is an update on the employer channel. Obviously, there's based on our plan advisor research, roughly 8 to 10% of corporations are currently offering 529 plans, whether that be a direct deposit option or a matching type of program. As the CARES Act did provide benefits to the student loan debt repayment side of the conversation, we do expect that as companies get more and more focused about adding in the like student loan debt benefit, that we do expect that to kind of pinwheel over to the savings side as well. So time will tell, but I think this may be the year where we get some momentum and traction. And obviously, as there's a lot of legislation being hit around the retooling of America and the focus on the employer channel, we'll see more and more. So we do have a question on the do we classify the Virginia tuition track product as a prepaid or savings? Thank you, Rich. On that question, the plan itself, Virginia 529, does classify it as a savings, as an investment option within the savings plan. So it's not a standalone plan. It's a track within the savings portfolio. And inside Invest 529 plan, it does have a lot of look and feel as a prepaid investment option. Obviously, the state did close their prepaid plan last year or the year before, I think, and relaunched this investment option only for Virginia residents. So it has a lot of look and feel as a prepaid plan, but lo and behold, at the end of the day, it is a savings plan. It is an investment option within the savings plan, and the return performance does is much more of a inflation tracker as it relates to the Virginia public college tuition rates. So we'll be tracking that one, and thank you, Rich. Great question. Any trends you see on how asset managers are changing their approach to supporting advisors on 529s and financial aid? And great question. I think that we're seeing the rotation of a lot of different things of that traditional wholesale route to the hybrids, and obviously as the various kind of markets reopen, we'll see more and more people going back and blocking, tackling, and having meetings in person. I do think that financial aid continues to be a fairly large topic. There was the different legislation that was talked about that would impact the financial aid topic. Very timely. Thank you, Joseph, for the question. I think a lot of the actual while the intention has been stated, the actual implementation and the rules and the regs and the details is still waiting to be seen. So it continues to be a large topic of conversation. We'll be watching it, and frankly, I think the asset managers have a lot of huge opportunities to do that outreach to advisors as it relates to 529 plans and college financial planning and that financial aid side. I will also note, broadly speaking, as that as it relates to the higher net worth, that cap gains tax rate may actually be, broadly speaking, as some believe, actually maybe a net positive for 529 plans, just because it's it does have the tax advantages and things of that nature. So I would expect there to be more conversations on that. But lo and behold, I think that if anything, asset managers have realized that it's a long-term goal to help families pay for pay for long-term goals. As it relates to college financial planning and retirement planning, that it's like that long-term goal also helped a lot of those families actually stay invested in the marketplace through 2020, not selling in April 2020, because it's lo and behold, for those with 5-year-olds, it's a 13-year window until that usage period. So I think that the opportunity continues for asset managers to have that conversation. It continues to be very sticky assets in terms of just helping advisors to help their own clients. So I think there continues to be a lot of different opportunities, that a lot of different marketing pages, could probably help out the market more within 529s and financial aid. So more to be seen. And Joseph, when I see you out in Denver, that'll be our first topic of discussion. Having when we have our coffee at the Brown Hotel. So thank you very much. Just pause for a second, see if there's any last minute questions. There's the disclosure that's as asked by our company. Thank you so much for your time, and please provide the feedback and help your clients save and save efficiently. Hope you have a great day. Thank you.